Hi, I'm Dan Jackson. We're in my studio gallery here on Richard Street in Vancouver. I've got a show coming up called What It Is, so come with me and I'll show you around. The exhibit opens with this piece called What It Is, and it's an industrial space that I shot. It's actually a cement factory down on the Fraser River here in Vancouver. I've stripped away its context and meaning and changed it from what would normally be an utilitarian environment into one that is purely decorative. The next pieces in this exhibit are Tag and You're It. This is the Sunripe apple juice factory in Kelowna. Again, it's an industrial space. It's largely utilitarian and monochromatic. And again, I've used it as a template, stripped it of its context, and constructed something that is purely decorative. One of the reasons I chose these industrial spaces was because everything in them is only vaguely familiar to us. It's difficult to find environments that we aren't entirely familiar with. One of the things that happens as you look deeper and approach these images closer and closer, you find that these objects within them become pure forms of abstraction within the image itself. So it's no longer a gasket, it's a blue cylinder. And it's no longer a valve, it's a pink rectangle. With Tag, we start to see the process of these representational forms deconstructing further into pure forms of abstraction. If we consider the first two pieces in the exhibit sort of an introduction to a visual vocabulary, we can kind of think of them as a dictionary. The rest of the exhibit are pieces that were constructed of that language. So I call these pieces my haiku. They're small and intimate, but they're constructed very carefully of elements that were extracted from the first two images. So you'll find certain details that are extracted and rearranged into new forms. The exhibit progresses with these two pieces called He's It and She's It, and they represent the complete deconstruction of what initially started off as representational art into pure forms of abstract shape and color. As the exhibit nears its conclusion, we have this series where I reintroduce representational art by taking these abstract forms and shapes and reconfiguring them into what appear to be organic shapes, but are in fact completely fictional. The exhibit concludes with this piece called That's It. It is constructed entirely out of the abstract forms and shapes that we saw progressing through the show. Ultimately, its genesis was the first two pieces, which was the cement factory and the apple juice plant. What I want to convey to people with this show is that photography has a role in expressionism and in abstract and even surrealism, and it's not necessarily always a system of documentation. So I wanted to conclude with this piece because it is a photograph of a bird, but this bird does not exist.